Your name, once feeling like it had been wiped clean from every list of folks who matter, is now being written again, right up there in a place of honor. Restoration's coming for your reputation, your standing, and how the world sees you. Them folks who wrote you off, they're gonna be mighty surprised. The ones who counted you out. They'll watch in awe as you rise up. And this rise ain't from your own pushing. Lord knows you've pushed till you had no fight left. No, this here's the work of heaven's own vindication, a revealing of what's been quietly forged in the shadows all those years. What the darkness tried to bury you under, that's going to be the very platform where you stand tall and be seen. And those dreams you buried deep. I'm telling you now, go dig 'em up. They weren't as dead as you thought. The dreams you laid down with tears, sure you'd never see 'em bloom again, were just seeds. And a seed's got to be buried before it can grow. That burying felt like giving up, like defeat, like hope itself died, but it was really the planting that made their coming back possible. They've been growing in the dark, sending out roots you couldn't see, getting strong for their moment to break through. And now the season's turned, and what you buried in sorrow you'll harvest in joy, and that harvest will be so much bigger than the seed, it's hard to even reckon. That's the law of divine recompense. When the enemy steals, they gotta pay back sevenfold. What the locusts ate, it'll be restored. Those years that looked lost, they'll be given back to you, full and overflowing. You're gonna look back on your life and barely recognize it. Such a complete turnaround, such a total flip of your fortunes. The one who cried in secret, they'll be rejoicing out loud. The one who felt forgotten, they'll know they're remembered. The one who felt empty, they'll be filled to the brim and become a fountain from which many others drink. So let your faith rise up now and meet what's coming your way. I know it ain't easy to believe again after you've been hurt so many times. I know hope itself might scare you, 'cause every time you dared to hope, it felt like it just set you up for a harder fall. You learned to guard your heart, expect the worst, brace for disappointment 'cause that was all you could count on. But I'm asking you now to take a different kind of risk, the risk of believing one more time. Not some desperate, clutching kind of belief that needs proof before it'll commit, but a quiet, peaceful confidence that takes root deep down in your soul. Feel it rising in you right now. It ain't the feeling from your mind, from the part that's always weighing evidence and wanting guarantees. No, it's coming from deeper inside. The part made to know truth straight up. The part that hears the voice of the one who made it all. That calm surety you're starting to feel. That sense what you're hearing is real, that something true is happening inside you even now. That's heaven's seal on this word, right on your heart. Don't fight it. Don't let the doubt talk you out of it. Just let it be true. Just let yourself believe. There's a peace waiting for you that goes beyond all understanding. A peace that don't depend on your troubles being fixed. A peace that can fill you up even while things outside are still changing. That's the peace I want you to step into right now. The peace of one who knows the battle's already won even before the final proof shows up. You don't gotta wait till everything's all fixed to have peace. You can have it now, right in the waiting, 'cause peace don't come from trouble disappearing, it comes from the presence of the one who's already conquered all trouble. Let that presence fill you up. Let it calm your restless heart. Let it quiet the anxious thoughts that have worn you down for so long. And as that peace settles in, I want you to understand something about the silence you went through. The long nights when it felt like no one above was listening, when your prayers seemed to hit the ceiling and fall back down unanswered. You believed then you'd been left on your own, that heaven had turned cold on you, that whatever care was once there had been taken away and given to folks more deserving. But listen close now, 'cause here's the truth that silence was hiding. You were never left unwatched, not for one breath, not. The very moment you felt all alone was the moment a host of unseen angels came closer, surrounding you where you lay awake, standing guard at your door where you cried, walking with you on that heavy road when your eyes were blind with tears. The disaster that was set against you, the trouble that was moving in the unseen realm, was stopped by hands you couldn't feel and turned away by a strength you didn't know was fighting for you. There was a danger that almost reached you, and you got to let yourself feel how heavy that is. Not with fear, 'cause that danger's already passed through the hands of those who shielded you. A blow was aimed right at the heart of all you hold dear, made in darkness and meant to strike when you'd be too weak to bear it, when it would have shattered something inside you that could never be put right again. But right before it hit, a wall of fire rose up between you and that danger. The blow broke against that wall. The disaster never took flesh in your life. You might never have known just how close it came, and that mercy's a gift too, for if you'd seen the full weight of what was stopped, it would have broke your heart with terror. You were carried through a valley while you slept, and you woke thinking nothing happened, when in truth everything happened and you were saved. Let that change how you remember your hardest nights. Those weren't nights of abandonment. They were nights of battle fought for you by ones who never got tired, never slept, never looked away. When you cried out and heard no answer, the answer had already been given before you spoke, working its way through the unseen to reach you not in words but in protection. You wanted comfort, and you were given survival. And survival was the greater gift, even if you couldn't see it then. You wanted the pain to stop, but instead that pain was made to serve a purpose bigger than you understood, a purpose that's only just starting to unfold before your very eyes. I know how that loneliness carved its way deep down in you. I know that particular kind of ache, being surrounded by folks yet feeling like you're invisible, sitting at tables where laughter's all around, but inside, you're drowning in a silence no one even notices. I know how you learned to put on a face that didn't match what was in your heart, to answer "I'm fine" when the truth was, you were unraveling thread by thread. You got real good at hiding your hurt, a true master at that little show that keeps folks comfortable, while you carried your wound all alone into the dark. And the loneliest part, it wasn't just being by yourself. It was knowing deep down that even if you told the whole truth about your pain, no one'd really understand it. No one could reach that place inside where the real hurt lives. That place felt locked up tight, walled off, and no one could get to it, not even you, because you'd buried it so deep you couldn't even find the door. But I found the door. I've always known the way to that hidden room inside you, the place where you keep every grief you couldn't speak, every disappointment you never voiced, every fear you were too ashamed to even admit to yourself. I've been in that room. I've read every word written on its walls. I've seen the dates you marked, the anniversaries of losses nobody else remembered, the hurts you'd forgotten where they even started, but still ached in the cold. And I didn't turn away from what I found there. I didn't judge the mess of it, the contradictions, the bitterness creeping into the corners, the doubt staining the bright places of your faith. I gathered it all up tenderly, like you'd pick up a hurting creature, gentle and careful, and I've been tending to it through all the long seasons you've been waiting. There's a grief inside you you've never named, and I'm going to name it now so it can finally be set free. It's the grief of the time you lost. Not just the things, the people, the chances missed, though those losses were real and they cut deep, but the time itself. Them irreplaceable hours, days, years that slipped away while you were just getting by, holding on by your fingertips, too caught up in the fight to really live. You mourn the version of yourself that might have bloomed if only the weight had been lighter. You mourn the joy you couldn't reach, the love you were too guarded to let in, the dreams you were too tired to chase. This grief's got no monument, no ceremony, no one to even acknowledge it. So it's festered quietly, a sorrow with no place to rest. But I'm telling you, that time ain't as lost as you think, 'cause I'm the one who redeems time, who restores the years eaten away, who can make the latter part of your life so full it outweighs all those dry, barren seasons before. Think about that prophet who once sat alone under a tree in a vast empty desert, asking to die. He'd been a man of fire and power, standing before kings, calling down heaven, seeing impossible things done by his hands. But one day, the threats of his enemies and the exhaustion of his own spirit drove him out into the wilderness alone, where he collapsed under the only shade he could find and begged for his life to be taken. He said he'd had enough, that he was no better than the ones before him, that there was no reason left to keep going. He'd reached the very end of his strength, the place where even a great and faithful heart can break, where the will to live starts to slip away. And in that moment of total despair, when he'd given up and laid down to sleep what he hoped would be his last sleep, he wasn't left to his sorrow alone. An angel came to him in the wilderness, not with scolding, not with a sermon about his lack of faith, not with demands to pull himself up and get back to work. The angel came with bread, fresh from hot coals, and a jar of water. The angel gently touched him and said only this, "Rise up and eat." And the broken prophet ate and drank, then lay down again, still too weary for one meal to fix him. The angel came back a second time, touched him again, and told him the journey was too great, that he needed to eat once more to have strength for the road ahead. There was no judgment, only tenderness, patient care from heaven for a soul pushed beyond what it could bear. And with the strength from that food given by an angel in his loneliest hour, that prophet rose and walked for 40 days and nights until he reached the mountain where he'd hear the voice of the one who'd never stopped loving him. I tell you this because you're that prophet under the tree. You've done great things no one remembers. You've poured yourself out in battles that left you empty. You've reached the place where you said, "I've had enough," where you wondered why keep going, where your will to carry on flickered like a candle in a strong wind. And you thought, like he did, that falling so low was the end of your use, that you'd just be left here to fade away. But the same heaven that sent an angel to him in the wilderness has sent its messengers to your wilderness too. The bread's been prepared. Your strength is being restored even now, not all at once, but meal by meal, day by day, gentle touch by gentle touch, until you rise and walk toward the mountain that's been waiting on you all along. Your fall wasn't your end. It was the place where heaven met you tenderly, where the care the world denied you poured out on you without measure. And listen close to what that prophet learned on the mountain, because it speaks right to the silence you've endured. When he finally got there, a mighty wind tore through the mountains, shattering rocks, but the voice he sought wasn't in the wind. Then came an earthquake, but the presence he longed for wasn't in that either. Then came a fire, but still, he didn't find what he was seeking in the flame. And after all that noise and fury passed, there came a sound, a gentle stillness, a whisper so quiet only someone still enough to listen could hear it. And it was in that whisper, not the showy spectacle, that heaven spoke to him. You've been waiting for your rescue to come like a mighty earthquake, a fire, a roaring wind that everyone sees and acknowledges. But much of what heaven's doing for you comes in the whisper, the quiet stillness, the subtle shift only you can feel. Don't despise the whisper. Don't brush off the gentleness. The most powerful work happening in your life is happening quietly, in a way too fine for the noisy world to notice. Now, before I take you all deeper into what's unfolding, I got to pause for a moment and speak straight with you about something that's been kept hidden, something that strikes right at the heart of the battle fought for your very survival. You've felt it, haven't you? That there's a bigger game playing out all around your life, a contest just beyond your sight, where you ain't just some small piece, but the whole dang prize, the one those unseen forces are fighting over. You've noticed it in them strange patterns of bad luck, in the way some doors just slammed shut at the worst possible times, in that stubborn resistance that rose up every time you reached for something good. That feeling ain't paranoia, no sir. It's perception. You are catching on to the truth that this invisible war's got its own rules, old laws and patterns that decide how curses stick and how blessings get sealed, how the chosen ones get marked, and how the call on your life either wakes up or stays buried. And these here are things no one ever took the time to explain to you. The knowledge purposely kept hidden, so you'd wander blind through the fight. That's why the sacred guide called the 7 Swords of St. Michael the Archangel was sent into this world, a guide to break curses, seal blessings, and wake up the calling of the chosen ones. There's a reason that disaster almost swallowed you whole, and that reason's tied to them open spots in your spiritual defenses, the gaps nobody showed you how to close. The same St. Michael whose sword deflected that arrow aimed at your life has left, right there in that guide, the wisdom to hold that same kind of protection for yourself, to see the root of the loneliness and loss that's been tracking you, and how to cut it off at the source instead of just bearing its endless return. The link to that guide's sitting right at the top of the comments, pinned and waiting for you. I'm telling you this knowing full well that folks have resisted this knowledge, that there's some who'd rather you never got your hands on it, that more than once folks tried to hush what it holds. 'Cause knowledge that sets a chosen one free, that's the most dangerous thing to those who profit off your confusion. If something inside you is leaning forward right now, if you feel that quiet tug of recognition, don't let this moment slip by. Head to the top of the comments, find that guide waiting for you and download it now. And as you do, leave behind these words so heaven and your own heart know this is a turning point. Write it plain and simple. I am chosen, and I will receive the sacred guide. Say it loud, claim it proud, for just saying it cracks open that silence that's held you tight, the first strike of the very sword you're reaching for. Now let that promise you just made light a fire for what's coming next. 'Cause the very willingness to reach for knowledge that was hidden, that's a sign something in you's already waking up, that the chosen one inside you is rising from a long, deep sleep of forgetting. The arrow was turned aside, The wall of fire was raised, but protection alone? No, that ain't heaven's whole plan for you. Survival was just the start, not the finish line. You were kept safe through that valley, not just so you could exist, but so you could finally start living the life written down for you before the world itself was made. There's a call on you. That call's been pushing against the walls of your life for a long, long time, a purpose struggling to break through the hard crust of discouragement. You felt it as a restless ache no comfort could soothe, as a feeling you were made for something you couldn't quite name, as a quiet pain that hung round even when by all outward signs you should have been content. That ache, it ain't no flaw in you. It's the call itself refusing to be quiet, refusing to let you settle for a life smaller than the one you were made to live. The world tried to tell you that ache was just ingratitude, that you ought to be happy with what you got, that wanting more was pride or greed. But listen here, I tell you that ache is holy, placed there on purpose, the seed of a destiny that won't settle for the poor ground it's been made to wait in. And the enemy of your soul? He knew about this call long before you did. That's the secret behind so much of what you've been through. The attacks, they weren't random. The loneliness, it wasn't by accident. Them doors closing in your face, the betrayals from folks you trusted, the way your efforts seemed to vanish while others barely try and thrived, it's all tied to the call the dark was desperate to bury. 'Cause why fight a life that ain't a threat? The fierce fight against you is proof of the mighty purpose you carry. You weren't targeted 'cause you were weak and small. You were targeted 'cause you're dangerous to the kingdom of darkness, 'cause the purpose on your life, if it ever fully wakes up, would tear down the walls the enemies built so hard. You weren't a victim. You were a threat, a chosen one with a destiny big enough to scare the darkness itself. Feel that weight settle in, and let it rewrite how you see your whole story. Every hard blow was your enemy's way of confessing how much you matter. Every try to break you was a backward nod to your power. You spent years thinking your troubles meant you were worthless, that you were cursed, marked for bad luck, unworthy of the favor others seem to get so easy. But the truth, it's the exact opposite. That relentless storm was proof of your worth. You don't waste a siege on empty land. You don't storm a city with no treasure. The siege on your life, it was because of the treasure inside you, the calling, the destiny, that chosen purpose that the powers of darkness saw even when you couldn't see it yourself. And now, that purpose is rising up. The long hold-down's ending, the seals that kept your call asleep are breaking one by one, and with each one you'll feel your spirit shift, chains loosening, dreams sparking back to life. Them things folks made fun of, the strange sensitivity, the big heart, how you see what others miss, the deep feeling they called weakness, all these are now showing up as the tools of your calling, not the burdens they told you they were. What the world pushed away, heaven chose. What made you an outcast to the small-minded is exactly what makes you precious in the kingdom that's rising up to claim you. Now let me tell you all about another soul who was hunted down just because of his calling, another whose pain was the shadow cast by the greatness he carried deep inside. There was this young man once, the least noticed of all his brothers, the one his own daddy didn't even bother calling when a prophet came looking for a king among the sons of the family. While his brothers were summoned in from the fields, strong and tall, this youngest one was left out tending the sheep, thought too small, too unimportant to even be included. He was the forgotten boy, the afterthought, the kind you don't even miss till the prophet, after rejecting all the others, asks if there's anyone else. Only then, almost like an afterthought, the boy was sent for, called from the lonely fields where he spent his days with nothing but sheep, stars and songs, sung to a heaven that felt mighty far away. But y'all, it was that very boy, the overlooked one, the one his own kin didn't reckon worthy, upon whom the oil of anointing was poured. That boy was chosen by heaven, while everyone else was busy looking at the tall, the strong, the obvious. See, the prophet was told plain as day, heaven don't see like folks do, folks look at the outside, but heaven looks deep into the heart. And in that forgotten shepherd boy's heart was something his family couldn't see, a depth forged in the loneliness of those fields, a courage shaped by nights defending his flock from lions and bears with nothing but his own two hands, and an unshakable trust in the one who watches over us all. The very isolation his family laid on him, the neglect that left him out there with the sheep, was the forge where his greatness was made. If he'd been coddled and kept safe, he never would have grown the strength that one day brought down a giant and lifted up a whole nation. Now I want you to hear this. You are that forgotten shepherd. You've been left out in the field while others have been called inside. You've been overlooked by folks who ought to see your worth, passed over, counted as the least, the unlikely, the one whose name don't come to mind when honors and chances are handed out. And in your loneliness, you've sung your songs to a heaven that felt far off, wondering if anyone was listening, if your faithfulness in the small and hidden things would ever mean a thing. But I'm here to tell you the oil's getting ready for your head. The anointing that was held back while you were being made is now ready to be poured out. The prophet's asking if there's anyone else, and the answer is coming. You're being called in from the field at last. What was forged in your isolation is about to be revealed in your rise. That giant that's haunted your life, that impossible mountain that's mocked and defied you and made you feel small, it's fixing to fall, struck down by the very strength you built in those quiet seasons when nobody was watching and nobody believed. And listen close, 'cause that giant ain't just some single trouble. That giant is every voice that ever told you you just ain't enough. That giant's the weight of every rejection, every shut door, every no piled up into something tall and scary, standing between you and your destiny, challenging you to step up. Sure, you'll fail. For years, you've stood in that valley, looking up, paralyzed, sure that something so big could never be beat by someone so small. But the shepherd didn't beat the giant by growing bigger himself. He beat it with one smooth stone, with steady aim, with faith, with the quiet confidence of one who'd already won smaller battles in secret and knew the same hand that saved him from lions would save him from this too. Your stone is being placed in your hand even now. You don't gotta be no one else. You just gotta let go, trust the gift you already carry, and watch that impossible thing tumble down. Now I want to talk to the part of you scared to hope that this could be true, 'cause I know even as these words stir something in you, there's another voice rising up to argue back. A voice that's been with you through all the letdowns, saying don't be foolish, don't believe, you've hoped and been crushed before and you just can't take it again. That voice tries to sound like wisdom, like protecting yourself, like learning from hard times. But I'm telling you, that voice ain't your friend. It was planted there by your wounds, and it speaks for those wounds. Its aim ain't to keep you safe, it's to keep you small, locked up in that prison of low expectations, where no good thing can reach you because you've shut the door tight out of fear it might just be another heartbreak in disguise. You built that wall for a reason, and I don't blame you. When hopes cut you deep again and again, your heart does what it needs to survive, and that wall of low expectation is a kind of mercy you give yourself, a way to brace for the pain. But that wall that keeps disappointment out also keeps joy out. The same barrier that blocks the arrows blocks the blessings too. And the season that's coming now can't find you behind that wall. I ain't asking you to tear it down all at once. Just open one little window, let a crack of light in, give yourself the smallest bit of belief, just enough to let what's on its way start finding you. Faith don't mean you gotta be sure. It just means stay open, don't slam the door shut, let the possibility breathe even when you can't promise how it'll turn out. That's all that's asked, no grand, fearless confidence, just a small, trembling openness, a willingness to be surprised by goodness once again. And now let me touch the deepest hurt, the one you ain't ever told nobody about, the wound beneath all the others. It's the fear that at your very core you're just unlovable, that all the times you got turned away or left behind weren't accidents or others' failings, but true reckonings on who you really are. Proof there's something broken inside you that drives love off, something unworthy that folks can feel, even if they can't say it out loud. That's the lie that's poisoned your whole life's well. It's the lie that made you settle for less, 'cause you thought you deserved nothing. The lie that made you sorry you were even here, made you shrink down to take up less space, made you thankful for crumbs when a feast was your birthright. But it's a lie, the biggest, meanest lie, the root of all your hurt, and I'm here to tear it out by its roots. Now listen here, darling. You ain't unlovable. You've just been loved imperfectly by folks who themselves were imperfect, in a world that's far from perfect. And sometimes you took their shortcomings for your own lack of worth. But those who couldn't love you right, they didn't fail because there wasn't something in you worth loving, no sir. They failed because they were broken in their own way, too caught up in their own hurt to see the treasure standing right in front of them. They looked only on the outside, blind to the heart. That blinding wasn't your fault. Their failure to cherish you ain't the final say on you. And here's the truth. There's been a love surrounding you long before you ever took breath, a love that turned aside the arrows, sent angels with bread into your wilderness, kept watch over those sleepless nights, gathered up your silent sorrows, and kept that flame inside you burning bright, even when you'd given up on it yourself. You've been held in everlasting love all along, even when you thought no one cared. That love was always there. You just couldn't feel it through the wall you'd built. So let's start taking that wall down, stone by stone, right now. Let the truth come in. You are seen, you are known, you are wanted, you are chosen, not because you earned it or did something heroic, but chosen freely from the start, set apart for a purpose and a love that no failure can take away, no rejection can undo. The verdict on your life ain't what those who walked away said. It's being spoken now from the only throne with real authority. You are beloved, valuable beyond what you can even imagine, worth every battle fought to save you, and destined for a future that's been made just for you. Take these words in now. They ain't just words, but promises sealed over your life this very minute. I declare that the loneliness wrapped round you is broken today, and that the right folks, the ones meant to truly see you, know you, walk with you, are heading your way even now. I declare that spirit of abandonment, the one whispering you'll always be left behind, forgotten, passed over, is silenced and stripped of its power to hurt you no more. I declare your buried calling is rising up, the seals on your purpose breaking, and the gifts folks once mocked you for flowing free and strong like they were meant to. I declare every arrow aimed at you is turned back to the one who fired it. Every trap in your path is torn down, and every curse spoken over you is cut off at its root, replaced with a blessing that can't be undone. I declare that the years the locusts ate are restored, multiplied, overflowing, and that the time you mourned as lost is redeemed, woven into a tapestry more beautiful than anything you could have made on your own. I declare the giant standing between you and your destiny falls, struck down by the gift you already carry, and you walk right over its fallen form into the wide, open future waiting just for you. I declare the wall round your heart falls gently, with no more hurt, and that joy finds safe passage into the places that only knew sorrow before. I declare you are loved, you are seen, you are chosen, and nothing in all the seen and unseen has the power to undo what heaven's spoken over you today. Now as these words settle on your soul, I want you to picture the unseen realm, the place where the battle for your life's been fought. There's a mighty host arrayed for you, more than any eye has counted, ranks and ranks of fiery, light-filled beings lined up beyond what you can imagine. They don't sleep, don't grow weary, don't take their eyes off the darkness. And at their head stands the captain, the great prince who's fought darkness since the world began, whose name means, "Who is like God?" The one whose sword never fails, whose will never bends. He's the one who drove the rebellion from the high places, who stands guard over the chosen in their trials. It was his sword that turned away the disaster that almost reached you, his presence that stood between you and the thing that hunted your soul. Picture him now, not as some far-off figure, but as the commander of armies he is, his form shining with a purifying light, his eyes steady on the dark, with a gaze no shadow can stand. When he draws his blade, the powers in the air tremble, 'cause that blade carries the authority of the one who sent him. Against that authority, no curse can stand, no plot can hold, no chain can stay locked. And I'm telling you, that same prince has been assigned to your life. Your case has come before heaven's courts, and a champion's been sent just for you. The chains that bound you are being cut right now, one by one, as that blade falls on them. You might feel it as a lightning strike, a sudden peace you can't explain, a weight lifting off your shoulders that you forgot you even carried. That's the blade at work. That's the prince of the host fighting for you, where you can't see. This here is the very knowledge the sacred guide unfolds, the 7 swords, each made to cut a different bondage, each a key to a chain holding you back. Breaking curses ain't a one-time thing. It's a sequence, a steady untying from one seal to the next. Most folks suffer without ever learning the order. The words are how to take their place in the fight that's been waged over them, adding their own voice to heaven's decrees. The guide pinned right at the top of the comments is there to put that knowledge in your hands, to teach you how the swords of the great prince match the wounds you carry, the loneliness, the loss, the calling buried deep, the lie that you're not worthy. If what I've said has touched the secret places in your heart, No, this ain't no accident, but an invitation. The next step's been laid out for you. Head up to the top of the comments, grab that guide before the moment slips by, and as you do, leave your declaration there for heaven to hear, that you are chosen and you will receive the sacred guide. Let those words be like the swing of that sword you're learning to wield, a first decree spoken loud into the battle, letting the powers that tried to hold you down know that the one they counted out has started fighting back. Now let that declaration spark a fire deep inside you, because there's still plenty more to be uncovered, more hidden truths wrapped up in the long, dark night you've been through. Even now, standing right on the edge of all that's coming back to life, I feel that question lingering in your heart, the one you're almost too scared to ask. Is it too late? You wonder if too much time's slipped away, if too many chances have passed, if your strength's been drained so low that whatever's coming will find you too worn out to welcome it. You're afraid the rescue's real, but it's meant for someone you ain't anymore, the version of you that could have thrived, worn down by years of struggle, leaving behind nothing but a tired shell too weary to bloom. Listen close, friend, that fear is just a lie, and I ain't gonna let it take root in you. It's never too late for the one whose time's held in a hand that don't reckon by the world's clock. The one who raises the dead ain't bothered by how late it is. The one who calls things into being that ain't yet seen ain't limited by how little's left. Think about the woman who laughed when she heard the promise. A woman who'd grown old waiting on a child that never came, whose body had long passed the season for such miracles. For decades, she carried the ache of barrenness, the monthly reminder of a hope deferred, the slow grinding down of expectation till expecting felt foolish. She watched her youth slip away, felt her strength fade, and buried that dream so many times that when she finally heard it spoken again, that she'd hold a son of her own, she laughed. Not with joy, but with the bitter disbelief of someone hurt too long to dare hope. And who could blame her? Every law of nature was stacked against her. Every year that passed sealed the verdict tighter. By every measure the world keeps, her time was done. Her window closed, her